Hello, everybody. Welcome to the MTG Place podcast. I'm your host, Corey, and with me today is Josh. How's it going, Josh?
It is going great. Excited to talk about some cards.
Yeah, did you play any pre-release events or anything for Wilds of Eldraine?
No, I have not. Just came off of playing Vintage Cube, and now it's like just a couple days break of Magic. I'll be back though.
Yeah, it's cool. All right, so before we get started with the Commander set review that we're going to do, I'll take just a second to mention that Sean Menery passed away. He was kind of the father of EDH or godfather of EDH. Him and the other judges used to sit around and play that after the judge matches in the early 2000s, and that turned into Commander, what we have today. So sucks that he's gone. He was also leader of the Commander Rules Committee, so he helped make a lot of decisions on what would be banned in the format and not. So, yeah, big loss for the Magic community. Prayers out to all of his family and everything.
Yeah, very sad news. I heard he was battling cancer for like 7 years or something. But just cancer sucks, man.
That's exactly.
Uh,
All right, well, in the spirit of the Commander format, we are going to talk about Wilds of Eldraine Commander cards today. Just the new cards that are not reprints in the two Commander decks. We're going to be starting off with White, going in Wooburg order. So, Josh, you want to read the first card for us?
All right. We got Court of Ardenvale. It's 2 and 2 whites, 4 mana, enchantment. When Court of Ardenvale enters the battlefield, you become the monarch. Already like this card. And then at the beginning of your upkeep, return target permanent card with mana value 3 or less from your graveyard to your hand. If you're the monarch, return that permanent to the battlefield instead. So this is kind of like a play on Sun Titan. I don't know, White's kind of getting into that like graveyard recursion, which I really like, especially like mana value 3 or less. And it says permanent, so I'm pretty sure you can grab lands off of this. Think you can grab a fetch land?
Just with like a Sun Titan, you can also grab lands, right?
Yes. Some of these new recursion cards, I'm pretty sure you can't grab lands, but this one seems like you can, so gets a little upvote.
So 4-mana enchantment, you become the monarch.
Yes.
So this is great if you can stay the monarch and protect it, right? Like,
yeah,
like 4-mana Sun Titan, basically.
Yep. Also, playing this doesn't give you anything on the board, so you need to have those creatures already on the board and something in the graveyard at turn 4. So, a little iffy, but Monarch's always a good mechanic. I mean, good. I mean,
you could use this as like pseudo ramp if you're like playing mono white or something, and you have what's the one where you should sack it to get 2 of the same lands?
Oh yeah. Gosh, what is that one?
Like Myriad Landscape or whatever.
Yeah, this is the name.
So if you play that or something, you sack that off, get the 2 lands, and the next turn you play this. You could then bring that back, or worst case they steal the monarch from you, and you can get that back in your hand, and you can have like somewhat of a white mana ramp going on then. Or if you have like a fetch land,
even in mono white, you can run fetch lands. You can run 5 or 4 of them, and you'll still be fine.
So yeah, it's definitely a solid card. I think you'd play this in mono white. You play this in 3 CMC or less matters. Would you play it outside of that? Like if you're just playing big deck?
No, definitely not. And Monarch's just a little bit tougher. We're talking about Commander here, where you got 3 opponents. Man, people are going to be fighting around that, and it's the beginning of your upkeep, so you don't get the chance of like if it was end step, it would be a bit different. But on upkeep, you got to wait for this whole thing to even work.
Right.
I don't think it's super strong, but it's a cool card. I like recursion in white. I think that's a new thing that we need to do.
But I mean, like realistically, even if they steal the money from you, right? You play this out, and if you get 2 cards back in your hand, even it kind of pays for itself.
Sure. Yeah. It's
if,
not
if they're both 3 mana cards, obviously. I mean, if you're taking like 1 mana cards, it's like, well, no, that takes a while.
You only get 1 card back per turn. It's
right.
just if it goes into your hand. But you're saying in 2
2
cycles.
turn cycles. Yeah.
Yeah. It's kind of like a divination then.
Yeah. So it's medium. I think it's definitely a card you'd play if you're gonna like build around it and have some protection. But otherwise,
Mm-hmm.
I wouldn't play it.
Yep.
Let's see. Next card is
This is a weird one.
all right. What? Okay. Next card is Liberated Livestock.
I think
Liberated
it's
Livestock.
liberated. Yeah.
All
The
right. Yeah.
story is of these farm animals like escape from their farm and they live in the city. It's a weird
Oh, it's
fairy
like a
tale.
fairy tale thing.
Yeah,
Yeah,
all
because
of
the whole set is yeah.
well, it's a weird one. I think it's German.
Okay. So it is 5 and a white for a 4/6 cat bird ox. When liberated livestock dies, create a 1/1 cat with lifelink, a 1/1 bird with flying, a 2/4 ox, and for
Mm-hmm.
each of those tokens, you may put an aura from your hand or graveyard onto the battlefield attached to it.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
So definitely need token matters, synergies, definitely need some sort of
Eh,
auras.
Definitely need a lot of auras. It is 6 mana. I think that's a little expensive, and you need to have it die, which is kind of like but man,
Yeah.
is
I
that pretty
mean,
powerful?
but so what if you have a deck where you're playing what the hell is the card? The one that makes them all 4/4 angels.
um, Whenever you make a token, they're instead of 4/4 angel.
Yeah.
Yeah,
It's like a whatever. So say you're playing a token deck with that card, and
sure.
then you have a sack outlet or something. Would you play this? 6 mana dies into 3/4/4 flyers.
I mean, if you're playing a token deck, you also have like doubling season, parallel lives type
Right.
crap. So that's even pretty good. It's decent. It's 6 mana to do that. I wouldn't. You need to have those auras to put this in your deck, and it needs
So
to be a
you want 3 auras to put one aura on every single one of them.
yes, exactly. I personally run a Bruno Light of Alabaster deck, and that throws auras into the graveyard all the time. And I sure would have enough, but I don't know, 6 mana, and the creature needs to die. It's so slow. It's really
Yeah.
cool, really weird.
Unless you have a way to like cheat it and then immediately sack it, you're probably not going to play this.
Yeah, some sort of like flash the card, the 2 mana blue card. You flash this in, you sack it because you didn't pay for it. You get those
Right.
guys out. You get the auras.
Is Flash legal in Commander, or is that banned?
Ooh, right. I think it might be banned. You're right. You're right. Because they kept Protean Hulk. That's
Yeah.
right. True. All
So
right.
you kind of need like an Elvish Piper or something to cheat it in.
Yeah, it's so slow.
I don't know. There's better cards, but yeah, it definitely can be busted if it
Mm-hmm.
is. I mean, it's definitely you could tell this is like in a pre-con deck, right? Because it's a big card. It's good when you play it, but there's a lot of better shit that exists in it.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, I would play it for that art of the cat right there is just so awesome. Oh, ah.
All right, what do we got for the next one?
All right, next one we got Ox Drover, 3 mana and a white, so 4 total. Human Peasant, 4/4 vigilance, and then Ox Drover can't be blocked by oxen. But when Ox Drover enters the battlefield or attacks, target opponent creates a 2/4 white ox creature token, and you draw a card. So I
So
like these creatures that like give your opponents other creatures. Um, Usually that's a downside, but this time you do draw a card, which is pretty crazy. So it's draw a card every single time you attack, or if you flicker, enter the battlefield. Why you would want to give your opponent stuff? There's like some cards like Toxidrill is like some where you're going to board wipe, you create more slugs off of it. Um, Other ways too. It's a huge politics thing. People love playing politics and like, hey, I'll give you this ox and you attack this opponent instead of me, which is kind of fun in there.
yeah, you could play it a group hug too.
Yeah, group
Hey, I'm gonna
hug.
give you a 2/4 so I can draw.
Yeah,
Um, And oxen is just like the plural of ox, right? So it's just the ox tokens can't block this.
Yes, yeah, I'm sure that's how they did it. Um,
It's a
I
little
was,
worded weird because other Magic cards don't word it
yeah,
like
that is interesting.
that.
Yeah, that's very, very interesting. But I like it. It's card draw on white, but gives you that politics. It's still 4 mana, a little slow. You really need to play that flicker like game, or I don't know. It's interesting.
Yeah, I mean, if you have some sort of way to gain control of all tokens or something,
That as well. Yeah, yeah,
that
yeah.
could work.
There's definitely like insurrection type deals where you give your opponent so many creatures and then you just take them all for one big turn and swing in.
Yeah, it's decent. I mean, it's more white card draw, which white has been wanting. So,
Yeah. Yeah.
all
All
right.
right.
Next up, we got Songbird's Blessing. It is 3 and white for an enchantment aura. Whenever an enchanted creature attacks, reveal cards from the top of your library until you reveal an aura card. You may put that card onto the battlefield. If you don't, put it in your hand and put the rest on the bottom of your library in a random order. So this aura is a 4 mana do nothing. Attack, then you get something.
Yes. Yes. I actually love it. It looks great in my Bruna deck. Like it will just filter through my entire deck until I grab a specific aura, and all those auras are usually when you build your commander decks, they're just straight gas. Um, there's some specific ones like I need the double strike or like infect, and this can help tutor it out. It's basically card draw from there on. So I think it's very powerful.
So in an aura deck, this is good.
Yes.
There's also the scenario where you could have this and one other aura that you just want
Mm-hmm.
and just play
Specifically
it for
tutor it
that.
out.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's kind of crazy to think about. Yeah, I love it. I think it's great. I think what Commander is being pushed into is it's like instead of just everyone running just the best cards, you run super synergistic cards. So every deck's turning out to be pretty different. And this is fits in that super synergy type deck. You
Yeah,
got an
I do
aura deck
like the
there.
synergy type deck. So you're gonna play it in the auras deck or whatever, or the weird if you want to polymorph a specific aura or something.
Yeah. Yep.
Um, outside of that, it's unplayable, right?
Mm-hmm. Oh,
Like you
heck
have
yeah.
to have a reason to play it.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Oh yeah.
That's a pretty good card.
Yeah. I love it. All right, this next one I think is going to be super powerful. Definitely putting it in my Bruna Auras deck. We're just talking about auras in white. Unfinished Business. It's 3 and 2 white, 5 mana sorcery. Return target creature card from your graveyard to the battlefield. Then return up to 2 aura and or equipment cards from your graveyard to the battlefield attached to that creature. I love it so much. Bruna is a high target. If she dies, I can just put her straight into the graveyard and then return her for 5 mana only. Get her back up with auras, and having those auras be like giving her hexproof, or it could have been like a lightning greaves with shroud. Um, super powerful. I think this card is great. Even if you don't have like the auras or equipment, just a reanimation spell is pretty okay for 5. Uh,
Yeah, like what is it? Breath of Life costs 4, so it's
yeah,
similar to that.
yeah. But with
This
just
would be great even in like my equipment
yeah,
Voltron deck because I could
yeah.
cast this, bring back whatever creature, and 2 equipments that got blown up. So like 2 of my swords are back.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Yeah. This card is going in some decks for sure.
Yeah, this card's awesome. Like, and most decks play in 1 or 2 equipments anyway.
Sure, yeah.
So
You
like
got
if
you got your lightning greaves.
yeah,
You got
so I
your
mean like you have your Greaves or
skull
what
clamp.
Skull Clamp, whatever. So most decks could probably take advantage of this.
Yeah.
I feel like we'll see this card quite a bit actually.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
It's a good card.
Looks very powerful.
So that's white. You think the cards are good in the white?
Um the two, well, the aura and the sorcery are my by far my favorite. The rest, probably won't see any play.
Yeah, they all
Um,
seemed really high costing too, right? Like nothing
yeah,
was under 3 mana, if I'm correct.
that is true.
All
Yeah,
right.
yeah.
All right. Well, on to blue. We got the Archmage of Echoes. It's 4 in a blue for a 4/4 fairy wizard with flying, ward 2, and when you cast a fairy or wizard permanent, copy it. So the copy becomes a token.
Yeah, this card's nuts.
Yeah, so this is put it in your fairies tribal deck, which, funny enough, I think was that the other Eldraine commander deck, or was it a little bit after that, the fairy rogue one?
I think it was during Eldraine, the Esper one, where it makes 1/1 fairies whenever you cast a non-creature
Oh
spell.
yeah, yeah. So Eldraine was the Esper one, and then it was the. I was thinking of the, what is it, the Zendikar one? Not Zendikar. Maybe it was a set before it.
Mhm.
There's one that's just blue black, but it's like the ninjutsu one.
Okay.
It's
Okay.
fairy rogues. So if you combine these 3 commander decks, you'll have one hell of a deck
Yeah.
just with those 3 precons.
See, fairies are pretty new. I read wizard permanent
Wizard,
spell.
copy all your wizards.
Inala, one of a classic commander, where you could make wizard tokens. It just seems pretty nuts into that sort of deck.
Okay, well, what's the busted wizards to copy? Do you know off the top of your head anything?
Spellseeker is a good
Oh,
one.
Spellseeker's good. Yeah.
That's a very fantastic one. Let's see. Whenever you cast it, you get to copy it. I wonder if Inala, I want to look her up. If you get a both copy, make a token for both. So Inala says, whenever another non-token wizard, so you will be making a token. All right, but you still get 3 copies of Spellseeker if you cast Spellseeker and pay an extra 1.
Jeez,
I don't know. It's free too. Like, you're not Inala. You got to pay an extra 1 mana to make like a
right.
copy. This is
And
just
even if you're just playing a wizard or fairy, like if you obviously you're gonna be playing a tribal deck, right? Or put in some
Mhm.
busted fairy wizards,
Yeah.
but either way, like 5 mana 4/4 flying ward 2 is not bad.
Yeah. And it's on cast trigger. So
Right.
like
So you'll
if
get it even if they counter it.
they counter one. I'm pretty sure there's a fairy board wipe now too. There's a creature that like board wipes all of your opponents.
Like
I don't know.
non-fairies.
Copying that doesn't really matter. Fairies are looking pretty strong though. Like you said, you got those 3 decks now. You just combine them all, and you got a
Right.
pretty powerful fairy deck.
Yeah,
Yeah,
plus there's the new one in the main set that's like whenever you play a fairy, each opponent loses a life. So if you
yeah.
get 3 copies of that out or something.
That's crazy. This is a crazy card.
This card is good, very good. Obviously, you don't want to put some legend fairies in because you'll have the one. But
You got to make sure they have ETBs or something, because you still will get the 2 ETBs and then sack it.
that's true. Yeah.
All right,
Yeah,
on
that's
to
good.
crazy. On to another court. I wonder. Okay, down. Yeah, they have a court in every single color. So this one's the blue court, Court of Vantress. It's 2 and 2 blue, 4 mana enchantment. When it enters the battlefield, you become the monarch. All right, that probably has a theme. Yep. And then at the beginning of your upkeep, I'm just reading that already. All of them are going to be upkeep. That seems slow already, but let's see what the effect is. Choose up to 1 other target enchantment or artifact. If you're the monarch, you may create a token that's a copy of it. If you're not the monarch, you may have Court of Vantress become a copy of it, except it has this ability. That seems actually really fun.
So you can copy all of make tokens of your artifact or your enchantments and artifacts.
Mm-hmm. It doesn't even have to be your own. Say someone played like a Gilded Lotus.
Oh yeah, that's true.
I'll take a token copy of that.
And if you're the monarch, you get another copy. If you're not, you make this a copy of the best thing for a round, and then if you got the monarch in that time, you'll get copies after that.
It seems really good. Like definitely you want to play around that token synergies because if you had like doubling season parallel lives type stuff, you create 2 copies of it. But if
Yeah.
you're not the monarch, only the court will become in. You won't get the 2. It's not a token.
Well, and you could choose artifact creatures too, so you could copy like worm coil engines or blight steels or
Yup.
something.
Yup.
Mer battle spheres.
Yup.
Some crazy stuff.
There's also like liquid metal coating where you can make anything into like an artifact.
Yeah. Again, it is a little slow, so you have to wait a whole turn cycle. But I mean, you're in blue, you probably have counter spells and stuff to support it.
Yeah, but that's also the thing. You're in blue, you don't really have a board presence.
Right.
So, I don't know, tough. I think it's really cool. Um, what was that? It was like the mirror that has been very, very good recently. It's like a 3 mana that can become a copy of any permanent.
Oh yeah. It's
Magic
something.
mirror, something like
Yeah,
that.
it's one of them. It's one of the. I can't.
Mirage mirror.
Yeah, Mirage Me. Yeah.
Just being able to
They.
like copy the best thing that's out there is pretty sweet.
Yeah, they use that on like game nights and stuff a lot.
Yeah, it's a good card.
All right, next up we got the Malleable Imposter. It's 3 and a blue for a 0/0 fairy shapeshifter with flash and flying. And it enters the battlefield with a copy of a creature an opponent controls, except for it's a fairy shapeshifter in addition to its other types, and has flying. So I'm going to take a fairy flying version of the best card you
Mhm.
got.
Yep, we see a lot of clones, but this one has flash.
Yep.
Flash might be pretty huge.
And if you
Um,
have that other one we talked about earlier out, you'll get 2 of these.
yeah, true. But being flash in blue means you can hold up those counter spells, and if you don't need to use them, you get a flash in the best thing an opponent has. Does say what opponent controls, so that is a little bit of a downside. You can't be like playing Reanimator or something, like copy some huge Archon of Cruelty or something. But if your opponents are playing stuff, this is
Yeah,
great.
it's
I'd
kind
love
of
to
like, all right, they have a big creature they resolved when I was tapped out.
hmm
Now I'll hold up a counter if in case they play something else, or I'll copy that.
Yeah.
Or they swing at me with their biggest thing, I copy it and trade for
Right.
instant speed.
Exactly. Yeah, I think it's sweet. It's very good.
Yeah, it's a pretty sweet card.
It's hard to put like clones into decks unless you're doing something, and this says creature and opponent controls, so it's pretty risky. Definitely wouldn't see this in like CEDH, but it's a cool card. All right. Now this card I think is going to see a lot of play. It's called Misleading Signpost. It's 2 and a blue artifact. Has flash. When Misleading Signpost enters the battlefield during the declare attacker step, you may reselect which player or permanent target attacking creature is attacking. And then it's a mana rocket, taps for 1 blue. So it only targets 1 creature, but if it's like a Blightsteel or something, awesome. That's great. But it's in the end, it's a mana rock. I know not many people are highly going to pick 3 mana rocks anymore. No one's really playing Commander Sphere or anything. But just like the card before, this has flash. That's amazing. You're in blue.
Yeah,
You hold up your counter spells or something. No one plays anything too crazy. And then, all right, I didn't use my counter spell. Let me just flash in a mana rock, and I just ramped. That's
right. That's true.
that's crazy. Even if you don't use the ETB, just being able to be a flash mana rock, I think is going to be nuts. The ETB is just the
Yeah,
chef's kiss
I
on
think
top.
this is good in Commander against like Eldrazi decks too.
Right? Yeah.
We actually just
Anything
had
big.
a judge meeting of a different card that's similar to this, where they get to reselect all attackers.
Mm-hmm.
And like
Mm-hmm.
how that works, because you don't redeclare the attackers or anything, so like the triggers don't trigger again, but like
Sure.
Annihilator will switch because it's dependent on the defending player.
Mm.
So
Okay.
if they declare an attack at you and that triggers on a stack, you play this, you switch who it's attacking, then the defending player has to sack the permanents.
Nice. I
So
like
if
that.
they swing at you with like an Annihilator Eldrazi, it's like, oh well, now you're attacking my opponent. They sack all the
Hmm.
stuff.
Hmm. I think this is really strong. Definitely going to see it play.
Yeah, it's definitely gonna see play. 3-mana rocks are slowly making a comeback. I think though, like there's
Yeah.
some that are play. I mean, obviously, like 5-color decks, right? Like I still play Lantern, and
Yeah. Lantern's huge.
or Chromatic Sphere or Commander Sphere or whatever. I mean, um, but yeah, it has to be really good, right? So like to play a 3-mana rock, it has to have a good effect. So I think this is pushing it to where it's good enough to play it, even though it's 3-mana rock.
Yeah. Being flash I think, is the best part.
All right, next up we got the Shadow Puppeteers. 6 in a blue, 7 mana. Okay. For a 4/4 Fairy Wizard, Flying Ward 2. When it enters the battlefield, create 2/1/1 Black Fairy Rogue creature tokens with flying. Whenever a creature you control with flying attacks, you may have it become a red dragon with base PT 4/4 in addition to its other colors. Type still on a turn.
Yeah, it's trying to be Crater Hoof. I'm imagining. You really need
Yeah,
like all
this
flying.
is like you would need like if you have like Bitter Blossom in your deck or something, and you have a
Yeah,
bunch of tokens
fairies.
already.
Yep, yep, for sure.
That's
But
that's the only way I'd play it because 7 mana. Like I don't even think it's that good. Like 7 mana for
no,
6/6 flying of power.
that yeah, uh, it's the best part is your flying guys become 4/4 dragons until end of turn.
Right.
But it also has like, hey, I have Ward 2 and I make like 2 more bodies. Like that part is just kind of irrelevant, and that's what makes this cost like 7 mana. So I think it's doing like 2 different things. I don't know.
Yeah. I
It's
don't
it's
think it's
very
that good.
slow. No, it's
It's
pretty terrible.
it's definitely like you could play it, but you'd have to cheat it in, and in which case there's better stuff to cheat in.
Yeah,
And you
yeah,
have to be playing like a flying tribal deck to make it good. Like, because without the second part, it's not good. Like
yep.
7 for 6/6 of power is not good.
It's like it's trying to be like an army in a can where you like play it and then like, okay, if this comes around, I'm going to swing for like 12 damage in the air. But
Yeah,
if it just had that bottom ability, cost a bit less, it would be a sweet card for sure. But this is just like too much, too not worth it.
all right. So that was blue. We have a couple good blue cards.
Yeah,
Um,
yeah. Signpost and the Archmage are definitely top 2.
but now we're going on to black here. So what's the first card for black?
All right, we got Blightwing Bandit, 3 in a black, Fairy Rogue, 2/2. It's got Flying Death Touch. And whenever you cast your first spell during each opponent's turn, look at the top card of that player's library, then exile it face down. You may play that card for as long as it remains exiled, and mana of any type can be spent to cast it. That is sweet. I
Yeah,
love this card.
that is sweet. That's kind of like the common in the main set that whenever you cast a spell on your opponent's turn, you give something -1/-1. But
Mm,
here you're getting a free card off the top of a player's
yeah,
library every time.
yeah, yeah. So it's also seems like it's like the new way they're doing like opposition agent and stuff, where like if Blightwing Bandit gets destroyed or is off the battlefield, you still can cast that card later
Mhm.
on anytime. Um, very, very sweet, very powerful. Love hitting my opponents, getting the top of their cards. It's very, very powerful and tilting for them. So,
Yeah, I mean, and this is good basically in black with your instant speed removal. It's
hmm,
good in blue black because you have counters,
yeah,
and it's good in red black.
yeah,
So if you're just playing black, you're probably playing this.
yeah. I don't think it's a staple, but it is. It's fun. It's powerful. It's cool. Death touch
Yeah,
flying is
especially if you have a lot of
powerful.
instants. Like you kind of have to have a
Yeah,
handful, like a lot of instants.
you need the right deck, but
Yeah,
it is sweet. Yeah.
yeah, that's cool. That's a cool card. I could definitely see building just like a control deck with a bunch of like this type of effects when you cast stuff on opponent's turn, and then just like,
Mm-hmm.
okay, I'm gonna win by playing your shit.
Mm-hmm. Yep. The new theft deck, where it was control magic and like just taking control, but now you just take the top of their deck and
Yeah.
opposition agent them, and
Next up, we got the Black Court, which is 2 black for Court of Lochthwain. Enters the battlefield, you become the monarch. At the beginning of your upkeep, exile the top card of target opponent's library. You may play that card for as long as it remains exiled, and you may spend mana of any type to cast it. And if you're the monarch, until end of turn, you may cast a spell from among cards exiled with it without paying its mana cost. All right, this might be the best one of them so far, right?
yeah, best court for sure. I love that.
Like it's basically free card draw every turn from your opponent's
Mm-hmm.
deck. And if you're the monarch, you don't even have to pay mana for it.
Yeah, yeah, that's pretty ridiculous.
Yeah, this is definitely the best one. This is like I'd play this in any black deck, literally any.
Yeah,
Just like because you play Friction Arena, why wouldn't you play this? Like, it's just draw another card off
true,
their deck.
true.
And if you stay the monarch, you're drawing another card anyway, so it's just better.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Yeah, yeah. Not much to say, but it's just good.
It's just bonkers good, yeah.
Yeah, love it. All right, we'll go on to the next. Fairy Blade Crafter. 2 and a black, 2/2 flying fairy rogue. Whenever one or more fairies you control deal combat damage to a player, put a +1/+1 counter on Fairy Blade Crafter. And when Fairy Blade Crafter dies, each opponent loses X life, you gain X life, where X is its power. Yeah.
So it can only get 1 counter each time, right? Because it's one or more.
One or more, yeah. So that's very, very slow.
But it is 3 for a 3/3 flyer.
If you hit that turn you play it, it's
Yeah,
a
okay.
2/2.
Oh, 3 for a 2/2 flyer. But I mean, 3 for a 2/2 flyer dies to drain a commander, drains 6, gain
It
6.
is each opponent. Yeah, that is important.
That's not horrible. I mean, if you're playing a tribal deck, you'd definitely
Mm-hmm.
play this, I think.
Mm-hmm. Or if there's sort of the lifeline deck, it's not bad because it is one or more fairies, but the blade crafter is a fairy.
Right,
So
yes,
you
you could
play
hit it
this,
with
it
itself.
will grow itself. And each opponent, if you're playing like any sort of life gain deck or life loss switcheroo types decks, seems pretty great.
Yeah.
Um, what is
It's
that?
another way for,
Veto.
yeah,
Whenever you
veto.
heal,
Yep.
you get to deal more damage.
It's also another way for if you have the Sanguine Bond combo thing in
Mm-hmm.
as
Mm-hmm. That
well.
sort of stuff. Yeah, it's better than I first initially thought, but I still don't think it's that great.
Yeah, it's like on the mid level. Like, there's a lot of cards that do this type of thing. So it's, do you
Mm-hmm.
want a fairy version?
Right? Yeah.
Next up, we got the Nettling Nuisance. 2 and a black for a 3/1 fairy rogue with flying. Whenever one or more fairies you control deal combat damage to a player, that player creates a 4/2 red pirate creature token. With this creature can't block, and it's goaded for the rest of the game. Okay, well, you already know my opinion. I think Goad is one of the worst abilities in Magic, and I fucking hate Goad. So I don't like this card, but it can be decent because you make 4/2s that aren't attacking you. But then when you get down to 1-on-1, it's really going to suck because we have a bunch of 4/2s.
Mm-hmm. Like I keep saying, my boy Toxatril, giving your opponent creatures that you can later give slime counters and kill to make more slimes for yourself is just
Yeah,
hilarious. So that's where these like niche cards can go to. But other
yeah.
than that, yeah,
Also,
it's
if you like main deck Decree of Pain, right? Like, just blow up the board
mhm,
and draw a million
draw
cards.
draw for them. Yeah, it's a politic card. Other than that, and it's not good.
Yeah, I don't think it's great.
Oh. In theory, it's like, yes, you do like 7 damage to an opponent that's not you because the pirate's goaded, this swings,
Mhm.
and then you're going to get more and more, but uh, yeah, weird one. All right, we're going to go on to the final black card, which is going to be the staple of all fairy decks. Or it doesn't even need to be fairy deck. For sure in all fairy decks, but this is going to be a card that's going to be played a lot. All right. Tigwill's Scurrying. 4 and 2 black, 6 mana sorcery. You may cast this card as though it had flash by tapping 3 untapped creatures you control with flying, in addition to paying its other costs. And then it's destroy all creatures. Create 3 1/1 black fairy rogue creature tokens with flying. So it's an instant speed board wipe if you have
3
3 creatures
flyers.
flying. Yeah. That's kind of nuts.
So would you play it with no flying creatures? If you can only play sorcery
No.
speed, 6 mana, board wipe, get 3 1/1s.
No.
You
I
wouldn't
don't
play
think
that?
I don't think so. The
Because, I
3/1/1s are pretty negligible. You don't.
Black has a lot of board wipes, right? You have Damnation, you have Toxic Deluge,
Yeah. 6 mana is a lot. But if
6
you
mana
can
is a lot, but
instant
it's not as
speed,
much as some of them. Being able to
yeah.
instant speed it is sweet if you have flying. So I think you need flying creatures to push this until you're playing this.
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
Um,
for sure. Because there's even there's the 7 and 8 mana ones that board wipe your opponents and keeps your own board.
right.
Like what? You're so close. Why would you run that?
Yeah. Or if you have like Bitter Blossom or something, this is
Yep.
kind of a combo with that.
Yep. Definitely going to be a staple in those fairy decks you're building, but you need to have flying creatures.
Yeah, or a bunch of demons or something.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
So that's black. Black seems sweet.
Yeah.
Definitely the court is nutso.
Yeah, that one's fun. Top court for now.
All right, we got the one lone red card here is the Court of Embrith, and it's not in any of the precons, so I'm pretty sure this is a set booster only pickup.
Oh, that makes sense. Yep.
So Court of Embrith is 2 red for an enchantment. When it just battles, you become the monarch. Me of your upkeep, create a 3/1 red knight creature token. Then, if you're the monarch, Court of Embrith deals X damage to each opponent, where X is the number of creatures you control. So if
I
you're
don't
the
know.
monarch, it's pretty good.
It's decent, but you have those creatures, you could probably be doing something better.
That's true.
Plus
How
people.
many free 3/1s would you need before it's worth the 4 mana?
Quite a
Like if you're
few.
not the monarch, quite a few.
I'm
It's also a way to draw in
over
like
5.
mono red.
Yeah, it is a way to draw a card, but it's also the monarch. You have 3 opponents. It's really tough to have the monarch and commander. And there's just other ways you can be dealing that sort of effect with other cards than an unreliable Court of Embrith. Like you don't know if you're going to have the monarch for that, and you're just making a 3/1 every turn.
Yeah.
Making
If you
a
have
token
like
every turn.
Impact Tremors or something, it is another constant token maker.
Yeah.
I know there's a lot out there already, though. Like, you'd rather just play like Rattle Master.
Yeah. Rebel Master for sure. Let's see. I was trying to find. Some 5 Alarm Fire I used to play a lot. It's like whatever creature you control deals combat damage, put a blaze counter, and then you remove 5 of them to deal 5 damage to a player. That's kind of similar vein. I don't know. I think there's just better ways to do X damage. X is the number of creatures you control, or
Yeah,
using your
I don't think the X damage is why you would play this at
yeah,
all. Because the X damage is whatever.
yeah,
I think it's do you want a 3/1 knight every single turn?
every turn. Yeah, yeah, with some unreliable card draw.
Yeah, it's okay. It's not great. Like,
Oh,
because there's the 5 mana one that makes like a haster every turn. That's better.
mm, the lightning elemental one. Is that what you're talking
Yeah,
about?
it's like an enchantment that's like put counters on it and you get like one haste, then two, then three, then four, then five. I can't remember
Mm,
what it's called, but
okay.
it's like a red white card. But that card is way better than this.
Yep. Mustard
So,
counters.
yeah.
Yep. All right. So pretty low on the courts. Now we'll go to the fifth and final one. So we'll decide which court is the better one. We're on to green. Court of Garenbrig. 1 and 2 green, 3 mana enchantment. ETB, become the monarch. At the beginning of your upkeep, distribute 2+1/+1 counters amongst up to 2 target creatures, so it could be the same. Then if you're the monarch, double the number of +1/+1 counters on each creature you control.
So that was pretty good.
Yeah, I like on each creature you control, it's not like the 2 you target and then you double.
Right. So if you're in a 1/1 counter deck, it's great.
Yeah.
And if they steal the monarch from you, you're still getting 2/1 counters, which you want in the 1/1 counter deck.
Yeah.
And it's
Yeah.
only 3 mana versus 4 for the rest of them.
hmm And usually with like the 1/1 counter decks, like it's hard to get that initial first counter on. Once you get like a counter on, you got like the hardened scales or like the doubling seasons, everything will
Right.
like incrementally
Multiply like
more.
crazy. Yeah.
So this every single turn you get that start,
Yeah.
which I think is huge.
Yeah. So you're definitely playing this in there. So, like, honestly, this is probably the second best one, in my opinion. I think the black one's the best.
Okay, yeah, yeah.
They're probably this.
Blue is up there. Blue seems fun, but
Blue
maybe
is
it's not the
fun.
best.
Yeah. The
Yeah.
white was okay. The red's the worst one, right?
Yep. Yep. For
So
sure. So black, green, blue, white, red.
red. Yeah.
These are power rankings.
Outside of 1/1 counter decks, I'm probably not ever playing this, but
Oh
it's
no.
great in the 1/1 counter deck.
Yeah. But like I said, the way commanders go in towards now is like the niche synergy cards are becoming really powerful where every deck's kind of looking pretty different now.
Yeah.
It's not just, hey, I got staples and I'm going to play the staple dot deck. So I
All
think
right.
it's sweet.
Next up, we got Giant Inheritance, which is 4 and a green for enchantment aura. Enchant creature gets +5/+5 and has whenever this creature attacks, create a monster roll token attached to up to one target attacking creature, and that's the roll. That's an enchanted creature gets +1/+1 is trample. And then when it's put into a graveyard, return it to its owner's hand. So it does come back if the
Mm-hmm.
enchantment dies. Gives your
Mm-hmm.
creature 5/5, basically 6/6 trample, because you're probably going to target itself the first time.
Mm-hmm.
So is 5 mana reoccurring aura worth playing for that?
I think that's you're looking at that a little wrong. 5 mana is a lot. Recurring's great. It's like Rancor, but it's all about creating an enchantment every turn. Enchantment ETV. There's a lot of they call them enchantresses that like
Yeah,
when enchantment enters the battlefield, draw
draw
a
a
card.
card. Yeah,
So this is I think it's going to be great into those decks. So if you start getting an enchantment, boom, boom, every single turn, draw a card, draw a card, draw a card. That's great. But being 5 mana is pretty rough. Really rough.
yeah, 5 mana, 6/6 trample.
And the creature has to attack. Like,
Yeah, I mean, but you're probably attacking with whatever you give 6/6 trample to.
well, yeah, that's best case scenario. But if
Yeah,
someone like board wipes, you can't play this on anything. Auras have those things where you can get 2 for 1 pretty easily. Like, hey, I'm going to put giant inheritance on like this elf I have, and
yeah,
someone's like, oh, I'll kill the elf. Like, well, there goes everything. And if they do that, giant inheritance doesn't even go back to your hand.
yeah, because
It
it's in
needs
the
to hit the
battlefield first.
battlefield first. Yeah. So even
Yeah,
with
it's probably only good in the enchantment synergy deck, or if you build a
even
new role type deck, maybe. But
even then, it's so slow. It's tough. It's tough.
yeah, but it's like you could just play the commander as like Estrid, and that just gives you one every single turn. So like,
True.
then you don't
Yep.
need this.
Yep. There's that weird planeswalker where it's like X white, white, blue, and it creates a bunch of enchantment tokens for
Yeah.
X. Like there's other ways to do that. It's just so much better. All right, we'll go to Knick Knack Oof. Wow, we got another Oof. I love it. He's X in green, 1/1 Oof. When he enters the battlefield with X +1/+1 counters on it. All right, scales. When Knick Knack Oof enters the battlefield, you may reveal the top X cards from your library. You may put any number of aura cards with mana value X or less from among them onto the battlefield. Then put all cards revealed this way that weren't into your battlefield on bottom of your library in any order. Super sweet. I love it. What
Well,
is
this is
that?
great in an
There's this.
Enchantress deck or like a Voltron
Yes.
deck.
Straight onto the battlefield is pretty insane. And it's on ETB, so you get to do that, get your enchantments, and then swing. There was an old green Hydra everyone used to run. It was like X green green, and then you look at the top and reveal like a creature card from among them.
Oh, Genesis Hydra.
Yeah, yeah. So that card was pretty good. But this is like reveal any number of aura cards, so you get multiple.
Yeah, you get every single one. So if you pay like 5 into X, you look at 5 cards, put anything that costs 5 or less. That's
This
an aura.
seems
I think.
nuts, actually.
You
It
definitely
seems,
need a lot of mana though, right?
yeah,
Because
that's
I
true.
mean, if you're playing an aura Enchantress based deck, you probably have 20 auras in your commander deck, maybe.
Yeah,
Which is like you got to look at. So if you look at 5 cards, you probably hit one most time.
yeah.
So you probably want to pay even more than 5 mana into X if you can.
Oh yeah. They also need to be the mana value of your X or less. You can't just do
Right.
like one and hit like a 5-drop one. Be like, hey, that one's
But
going
I
up.
mean, if you're playing auras, most of them are probably 3 or less. Like I would
Yeah,
think.
yeah.
But so
But,
so that's my thing is like it's if you have 20 auras in your deck, which is still a lot of auras to have,
mm-hmm,
and you pay for 5x, you have a 6/6 with one aura, probably.
mm-hmm.
You pay if you pay 10 for X, you have an 11/11, maybe probably get 2 or more auras.
Yep.
You
There's also
definitely need
like,
a way to get a shitload of mana. I think.
hey,
I think
you're on green.
it's more for you just have a big creature for X and Y,
Yeah, yeah,
and
that's
you'll
true.
probably hit like a aura that gives a trample or something.
That makes the card like better, but there's also some like top deck manipulation. Like you can be playing like Scroll Rack or something and have a card aura in your hand. And you're like, I'm just going to put it into on
Yeah,
top, basically like card draw it. Yeah, still not. I guess not as crazy as I was imagining, but I think it's still nuts.
I think it looks better than it is, but that's just my opinion. I think I'd have to
Mm-hmm.
play against it a few times and see or play with it a few times.
Yeah,
Um, just
I
because
can't.
I feel like deck building, it's hard to fit a shitload of auras in your deck, even if you're
Mm-hmm.
playing an aura based deck.
Yes, yes, for sure.
So
Yeah, anything over 20, you might have opening hands where it's just pure auras and
right.
no creatures to do it.
All
All
right.
right.
Next up, we got
This is a fun one.
Lone Crafter Fawn, 2 and a green for a 3/3 Satyr Druid. When it enters the battlefield, you can discard one or more land cards. When you do, return up to that many target non-land permanent cards from your graveyard to your hand. So you can filter all the lands in your hand for anything better in your graveyard.
Yeah, yeah.
That's
I think
awesome.
I think it's really good. You combine this with like Life in the Loam or something. It's going to be
Yeah,
nuts.
if you have a Life of the Loam deck, this is just nuts, right? Because it's
Yes.
like
Yeah.
play this, get 3 cards in your hand.
Yep. And then you get a dredge with Life in the Loam. Get those
Yeah,
lands back.
and worst case, you just need to hold one land to make this like an e-witness.
Yeah. Yep. Exactly. I think it's pretty nuts.
Yeah,
And
it's
any sort of
e-witness.
lands.
E-witness is played in almost every green deck, and this is
Mm.
like e-witness with upside to be better. So I think, yeah, this is gonna be everywhere.
Yeah, this is going to be a hot card for sure. Especially if you're in the lands deck, then almost better than E-Witness. Like crazy,
Oh
crazy,
yeah, crazy good. And it's a 3/3 for 3.
solid. Druid's also decent, decent type. All right, solid. Yeah, going to see a lot of play. Next card is Timber Paladin. 1 in a green, 2 mana, knight, 1/1. Artifact creature. Okay, it's an artifact. As long as Timber Paladin is enchanted by exactly 1 aura as base power, toughness 3/3. And as long as he's enchanted by exactly 2, he's base power, toughness 5/5, and vigilance. And if he's enchanted by 3 or more auras, he's a 10/10 vigilance trample.
Plus whatever the auras give it.
Yes, yeah, that's his base power toughness for sure.
So yeah, auras deck, great. Not auras deck, not playing.
Yeah, like we said, commanders becoming those
Yeah.
niche stuffs. Like, yeah, they're not like staple. Every single deck's going to take this, but I see just having a big dude. I think the vigilance helps a lot because then you can attack and block.
Mm-hmm.
But a big dude is just not really where you want to be in commander.
Well,
Big
right,
dumb
especially
dude
like
is kind of
you make this a 10-10 vigilance trample, you attack, they're like, okay, I swords it. Well,
yeah, yeah.
like, yeah, okay, I gained 10 life. Okay, whatever. It's gone. I don't have to
Creatures,
worry about
yeah.
it.
Creatures are not that good unless they like do something. Saying going back to Lone Crafter Fawn, the at E-Witness or the Oof might draw you a card with an aura. Say if this was legendary, I'd love it. If this could be your commander, okay, we're going to hit for 21 commander damage so
Yeah,
easily. But
right.
it's not. It's in your 99. Just having a big dude. Vigilance is sweet, but other than that, I don't think this is good.
No, what do you think of green overall? Like, the court's pretty good, and that one satyr's pretty good.
Oh, the Satyr Druid is 100% going to be huge. Other than that, we'll see how the oof works, and the court's obviously good if you're in that sort of +1/+1 counter deck.
All right, so on to the multicolored cards here. We got Alelia, the Cunning Conqueror, 2 blue black for a 2/4 legendary creature fairy warlock. Flying, whenever you cast your first spell during each opponent's turn, create a 1/1 black fairy rogue creature token with flying. And whenever one or more fairies you control deal combat damage to a player, goad target creature that player controls.
Yeah, like you said, goad isn't really that important
Yeah,
at
goad
all.
sucks. Like, so ignore the last part, it's whatever.
But
But so
we found our blue black cast your first spell during each opponent's turn commander.
yeah,
Yeah,
there you go. So you play that,
there,
and you make a
there
bunch
it
of
is.
1/1 rogue tokens. That's a good effect because you could play one every single round, and you could have
Yep.
1/1 flyers by the time you come back.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And then I guess you're swinging. Oh, you only get to goad one, so it's like you swing one at each player. You could goad one of each of the things, but
Yep.
yeah. So the goad part sucks.
Yeah,
It's
you gotta be.
definitely about the flying fairy tokens.
But yeah, you put Isochron Scepter or something, and you just keep casting spells on your opponent's turn, making 1/1s. Yeah, it's a solid deck. Not crazy powerful, something new and different. But if you're looking for a solid flying deck, this is it's pretty
Yeah, I
good.
mean, you could put this in a fairy deck. You put this in, you just want to cast instants. So
Mm-hmm.
all instance decks, and this is my only creature. I just make a bunch of
Mm-hmm.
fairy tokens. You could do that.
Yeah, it's okay. I like Warlock coming back. That's a cool type.
Yeah.
All right, we got another blue black fairy. Tig Will, Duke of Splendor. 1 blue black, very noble 2/3 flying death touch. Other fairies you control get +1/+1. Then whenever another fairy you control dies, you draw a card and lose 1 life.
All right. So this is the fairy
Ooh.
commander you want, right?
Yeah, this is
Like,
powerful.
3 mana, 2/3 flying death touch buff my board 1/1. That's great already. And
Insane. Yep.
whenever another fairy dies, I draw. So if I have
Yeah.
Bitter Blossom out and like uh,
Check outlets.
a sack outlet, I'm just gonna
Skull
draw a
Clamp.
shitload of cards.
Skull Clamp. Actually, other fairies get +1/+1. Skull Climb doesn't work there.
Yeah, skull clamp doesn't work. That's why they did it. So you can't skull
Oh,
clamp them all, probably.
it's a downside.
Yeah.
No, a Lord is good. Lord is good.
Yeah,
Um,
Lord is good, and the draw is great. So
insane. Death Touch too. Gosh, 3 mana.
this is a great fairy commander, and if you have a fairy deck already with the other commanders that have existed, then you can play this in there.
Oh yeah, oh yeah. And it's also, what is that? Maskwood Nexus is becoming one of my playgroup's favorite cards, where
I'll just make everything fairy.
everything's a fairy now. All right,
Definitely do that.
crazy. Like it.
All right, next up we got, what is this? Elevere of the Wild Court. 2 green white for a 4/4 legendary creature human knight. When Elevere enters the battlefield or attacks, create a virtuous roll token attached to another target creature you control. Okay, if you control another roll on it, put that in the grave. Okay, so that's the roll effect. Enchanted creature gets +1/+1 for each enchantment you control. So this is a new roll that only exists in this commander deck.
Okay, this is a powerful
This,
roll.
whenever an enchanted creature you control deals combat damage to a player, draw a card.
Wow.
Yeah, so
Wow.
you put a roll on something that's giving something 1/1 for every single enchantment you control,
Mm-hmm.
and then an enchanted creature. So this is like Enchantress deck or enchant a bunch of creatures deck.
Crazy.
Yeah.
Very powerful.
This is a nuts card. This would be sweet commander.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Definitely as a commander. Well, I could see it in 99 too. I just can't think of a deck that would right now that would use a green white, but those Enchantress with ETB, whenever enchantment ETBs, it's this crazy. It just keeps growing because it's like a Titan. It's on ETB and also when it swings,
Yep.
and it draws more cards
And it
whenever.
makes everything you play bigger. Like worst
Huge.
case,
Yeah.
you're gonna give something +1/+1, and the next time you attack, it gives everything
Worst case.
+2/+2. Like
Yeah. Yeah. Yep. But then each of them will be +2/+2, so that if you
Yep.
go on the same one, it'll be 4/4.
Well, yeah, but you can only have one roll on a creature.
Oh, okay, okay.
So you get to
That
put
makes
a
sense.
roll on a different creature every time.
So you need to go a little bit wide.
Yeah,
So
a little
you
bit wide
say,
with creatures, unless you're just planning on putting a roll on one thing that's not this, and then have a bunch of other enchantments in play to make it huge.
yeah, I
But
guess it
like,
is definitely go wide.
but you definitely could have like your Mesa Enchantress, your
Yeah,
Argonian Enchantress, all the ones that draw you cards, and just
yeah.
make them fucking huge. Like,
Mm-hmm. Yep, yep.
so
The Enchantresses start attacking. So, like, if you had parallel lives or something, like, and you put a double roll onto something,
only one would stay.
only one would stay, but it
Yeah.
would both see it. Your Enchantress would see both of them.
Yeah,
Okay.
two enchantments would come in, so you draw 2 cards, but one roll would stay because the other.
Yep.
So you could effectively keep drawing cards.
Mm-hmm.
It just each creature can only have one roll on it that controlled by you. Like your opponent can still put one roll on it, but you can only have one roll of your own.
Interesting. Okay. Yeah.
The rolls is a little weird mechanic, but
So I think the go wide part kind of hurts the deck, but it is very, very powerful.
yeah.
I love it. All right, we have another green white card. Gilwyn Casting Director. 1 green white, 2/3 human bard. Bard, all right. Whenever Gilwyn Casting Director or another non-token creature enters the battlefield under your control, choose one. Ooh. Create a royal roll token attached to that creature. Do you know what
Yeah,
these rules
yeah,
are?
yeah, I do. So I'll tell you at the end.
Okay, and then or create a sorcerer roll token attached to that creature, or create a monster roll token attached to
So
that
the
creature.
so the royal roll is +1/+1 ward 1.
Okay.
The sorcerer roll is +1/+1 when it attacks Scry 1,
Hmm.
and the monster roll is +1/+1 trample.
Okay. So this is definitely another go wide type deck. I got really, really excited reading the first part. Whenever him or another non-token creature enters the battlefield under control, choose one, and it doesn't say like this only happens 3 times in a turn or something. you can only choose one per turn, it could keep going. So I was
Mhm.
thinking flickering something, but the flickering doesn't really work because you can
Doesn't
only
work
get
with the roll enchantment
yeah.
things, but it's
It's
basically
fetching
so
that
basically you'd
creature.
want to play a non-token creature deck with cheap
Mhm.
creatures, probably
Going
like
wide.
going wide, and every single one you're going to get to buff what you want at that instant. So if you
Yeah.
have like a 4 mana 3/3, okay, give it
hmm
trample.
hmm
If I have a 1 mana 1/1 flyer, okay, give it when it attacks scry one. Okay, I
Yeah.
have a really good constant effect on this creature. I give it the ward one. So it's
Yeah.
definitely flexible, and it's going to make all of your creatures have +1/+1 and whatever effect you want.
Yeah. I don't really like. I mean, yes,
I feel
Enchantress
like I
does.
feel like it's definitely interesting to play this as a commander and
Yeah,
just play value creatures, right?
sure. I mean, Enchantresses for sure,
Like
but
I play Birds of Paradise, give it 1/1, and when it attacks, scry one. Okay,
your Eternal Witnesses,
yeah.
your staple
And
card.
also, obviously, Enchantress. You just play the 0/2, draw a
I
card.
just, I don't- it's just not that strong. I
No,
don't
it's
think.
not that strong, but I think it's definitely interesting deck type where you could just play value creatures and just build a value deck. It'd be fun, but this is one of those ones where you could probably build this as strong as you want. It's not going to be like a
Yeah,
$10 level. It's
I
going to
don't
be
think
like
it's
a
going to do well.
6, 7.
Yeah,
I don't know. I kind of want to build it just to see how much value I can get out of it,
all right, we'll see you on the
but
battlefield.
but yes, I don't think it's going to be super great. It's going to be one of those just like dinker around, do stuff deck,
hmm
not made to like win the game or just have fun.
Yeah. All right, this next card might be up your alley.
All right, we got the new Corvold. Oh, here we go. Okay,
Hey.
so it is 5 and Jund, which is black, red, green for a 4/4 legendary creature, Dragon Noble. This spell costs one less to cast for each card type among permanents you sacrifice this turn. It has flying, trample, and haste. And when it deals combat damage to a player, you put X+1 counters on it and draw X cards, where X is the number of permanent types among cards in your graveyard. So, worst case, you play this in the OG Corvold, which is better as a commander.
Yeah.
If you play it in that deck, you sack your treasure. Maybe you sacked a land or something, and this costs 2 less. So then you got
hmm
a what would that make it, a 6 mana? That make it a 6 mana 4/4 flying haste, deal damage, get 2 counters, draw 2.
Well, if you had something else, because the treasure's not going to your graveyard, but you will see that fetch land you have in your graveyard.
Oh, gotcha. Yeah. If you had like an artifact in your graveyard too, yeah.
Yeah,
Okay.
it's still drawn cards.
It's a little bit annoying that it's for each card type. I wish it was
Yeah,
each permanent you sack, but then it'd be
yeah.
really fucking
Then you
busted.
could stack like 5 treasures and
Yeah.
pass them for
But it's
3.
still really good. I think you'd play this in a regular Corvold deck. You'd probably play this just in a Dragon deck if you have a sack outlet too.
Yeah, it's some of these things are getting a little bit annoying. I mean, keeping track of what each permanent type you've sacked this turn is going to be kind of a mind head. I mean, if you're
Yeah.
only playing this card, sure, but if you're doing like other things, like hey, I sacked my Steve, my secure tribe elder, and then I did a fetch land, and then I drew some cards, and
And
then
then I
it's like, hey,
stacked
this
this
was two
enchantment
less,
and
was it?
yeah.
I don't remember.
I mean,
Like,
you could definitely build around this too. Like if you made this your commander, you put a
yeah,
treasure in there. You put the enchantments that could sack the scry to in there. You put Steve in there. So
yep,
all
yep.
stuff with sack abilities.
Mm-hmm. Mm.
Um, so that's decent there. But you could just put this in like a dragon deck, and you're
Oh,
probably most of the time gonna like even if you paid the full 7, that was an 8 mana, right?
yeah,
You still have it's a 4/4 that swings in to draw you at least probably 2 cards.
for sure. One, everyone has fetch lands.
Right. Well, and it's just permanent types, right? So you're going to have a
Yeah,
land in there, and you probably
yeah,
have a creature.
100% a
It's
land.
probably, especially by turn when you have like 8 mana, you're probably going to draw at least 2 cards off of it,
Yeah, yeah,
and
I like
then
it.
you have a six
Ron.
six. I think it's good. I think this is really good.
Yeah, solid card, solid card. Drawing cards is good, apparently.
Yeah, that's a good thing to do in Magic.
All right, we got this weird guy. He looks like he's going to make some weird combos. I feel like we got Bernard, Ginger Sculptor, one in Bant, so 1 green, white, blue, 4 mana, Human Artificer, 3/3. Each creature you control that's a food or golem gets +2/+2 and has trample. So your food needs to be creatures. Let's do it by
Mhm.
whenever another non-token creature you control dies, you may exile it. If you do, create a token that's a copy of that creature, except it's a 1/1 food golem artifact creature in addition to its other types, and it has the food ability. 2 tap, sacrifice the artifact. You gain 3 life.
So this is definitely interesting. You basically would play all the food creatures. So you play like the new Tough Cookie that can
Sure,
animate
yeah.
foods into creatures, and it's a food creature. You'd play Ginger Root, right?
I don't think you need to build around the
No, you don't
anthem.
need to, but I think that would be cool, right? And then you put random
Sure,
golems in there, right? Because golems
sure.
all get two trample, so you could play like Blade Splicer,
Yeah, yeah. Uh,
right?
that's not the powerful part about this. The
I mean,
powerful
well,
part,
think about it though. You play Blade Splicer, right?
yeah, the five
Uh,
five
you have a
golem
5/5 golem trample, right? And
first
then
strike.
when Blade Splicer dies, you get a 1/1
Yeah,
version of Blade
blade
Splicer that's
splicer.
going
Yeah,
to make another fucking golem.
powerful. Yep, yep. I think that one you definitely want. The cookies. I don't know, but
I kind of like the Tough Cookie too, but
it's the ETB dot deck, or there's
yeah.
going to be some crazy
I mean,
combos
because
with
think of
this.
this, like if you played the Tough Cookie in there, it's a 2 mana creature, right? With pay 3, animate a food. So if
Yeah,
you have food tokens around, which you could just play cards that make food tokens too,
yeah.
and then you make that into a 4/4, well now it's a 6/6 trampler.
I mean, all of your guys that died, he creates food. They're food golems, so they
Right.
already are food.
Right, that's true. So then they're 3/3s.
Mm-hmm. This is the ETB dot deck. Yeah, this is going to be some weird combos. I think there's someone's going to break this card pretty easy.
Yeah. It's definitely like kind of two ways to go about it. You play the ETB, just everything has a good fucking ETB,
Mm-hmm.
and then
Mm-hmm.
when they die, they're coming back doing it again as 3/3
Mm-hmm.
trample versions.
Or even
Uh,
like Steve is good, and he
yeah. Or you could build it just as like a golem food tribal thing, which would be weaker, but
yeah. I wouldn't look at it that way. I think this card's going to be broken in some sort of way. Some guy's going to find a crazy combo.
I'm trying to think of what's the best dice trigger in those colors.
Protean Hulk.
Protein Hulk, yeah, I guess you get 2 Protein Hulks.
I mean, this is even like
I
you
guess
play a
Sun
giant
Titan.
threat. You play a threat, and they're like, "Hey, I'm going to kill it." It's like, "Oh, it's back."
Yeah,
Like
I
a
play I
copy in its
play I
base.
play Hornet Queen,
Hornet Queen. Yep. Get a bunch of
Avenger.
tokens. You have like some sort of sack outlet. You play Crater Hoof, sack Crater Hoof. Hey, there's another Crater Hoof.
I mean, doubling season, you're getting 2 copies.
2 copies. Yeah. This card seems crazy.
Yeah,
Oh,
it's definitely gonna
I
be
love
good.
it.
The issue is you do have to exile your creature when it dies, so you never bring it back.
Yes.
But
Yeah, that is true. But hey,
so he's
that's
turning
you're
he's
basically
turning
you reanimate for free.
yeah,
Basically.
he's turning all your shit into gingerbread people.
Yep.
This
Delicious food. Some Sweeney Todd action. Anybody seen that
might
one?
be a sweet deck.
Someone's going to break this in a week or two. I guarantee it. With some weird combo.
All right, so that's multicolor. Multicolor cards are great.
Yeah.
And then we got one artifact here, which is the Throne of Eldraine. What? It's the whole
They
throne.
they said the thing. They said
Yeah,
the thing.
yeah, that was the one set, right? Okay. So 5 mana for legendary artifact. When it enters the battlefield, you choose a color. All right, it taps for 4 mana of the chosen colors. Spend this mana to cast only monospell cards of that color.
Mhm.
Pay 3, tap it, draw 2 cards, spend only mana of the chosen color to activate this ability. So this is fantastic
Crazy.
in a monocolor deck, right?
Crazy. You thought your Caged Sun was good. This
Right.
is Gilded Lotus, but better.
Yeah, so let me in a mono green deck. All right, I could tap for 4, or I could pay 3 tap and draw 2 cards.
Yeah, yeah. Drawing cards in mono green, mono red.
Mono white really needs it.
Yeah, this is going to be staple in the mono whites for sure. For sure, yeah. This card is kind of nuts.
I mean, you could play this in a 2-color deck, but you'd only be able to use half of it.
Mm-hmm. Whatever color you choose.
Yeah, but after you get over 2, you're not playing it.
Mm-hmm. But like in those colors, that you pay for 5 and you get 4 back. It's basically free at that point. It's crazy. You play this and then you play a 4-drop and amazing.
Nuts. Yeah. Especially in mono green X spells or something. Just like, okay, now my dragon, my Hydra's 4 bigger.
Yeah. But you can only spend this mana to cast the spells, so you can't use this on abilities, which
Right,
kind
but
of
so on the X cost and the casting cost, you can do it.
yeah, for sure, for sure. But I'm thinking like Lord Urza, Artificer, you can't use his 5
Right.
ability. That kind of makes it a little bit lower. Can't really like break it by tapping and
But
untap.
at that point, you would just pay 3 to draw 2 then,
Sure. Yeah.
which is still
Yep.
good. It's
Yeah.
like a
Yeah.
divination.
Yeah. Still crazy.
Yeah, so that's the commander cards. What do you think? You gonna pick up the commander decks for any of these, or are you gonna try and buy a couple of these singles?
Oh, definitely the singles. Unfinished Business, that white Reanimator Aura card, definitely going to go into my Bruna deck. Need that one. I think the hot card is going to be that Misleading Signpost. That Flash Mana Rock is going to be a game changer. I think it's going to be very good.
Yeah, and then if anyone does decide to buy any, don't forget we have a TCG Player affiliate link in the show notes and on the website mtgplace.net. It's just a link. Click that and lets them know we sent you over there, and helps support the podcast and all of our content that we've been creating. Tons of videos releasing. We've had about a video come out every single day of the last month. And probably not going to be stopping that for a while because I got a lot of these vintage cube videos, some Josh to edit and post up there, and a lot of my own videos to post too. We got a cool heads up vintage cube thing coming out. I think probably by the time this podcast will be in the next day or 2.
Yeah.
So that'll be cool. But before we go, we're going to do some cool segments here. So first one, we got my crazy card this week. Corey's crazy card. So my crazy card this week is the Orcish Librarian. It's a 1 and a red for a 1/1 creature. Is that an or? Who's? Orc? Orc.
Yeah, he's an orc.
God, I can't read it. It looks like ORG.
He's old.
Yeah. So anyways, it's 1 red tap. Look at the top 8 cards of your library. Remove 4 of them at random from the game. And then put the rest on top of your library. So it's like a Scry 4, but you have to take 4 random cards out of it and remove it from the game. So if you want some crazy Scry 4 type effect in red, you can play this. Huh?
The art is just so good. Some library paste.
Yeah.
He's eating a book.
It's like eating a book that he pasted together.
This is great. Old Magic was beautiful.
All right, then we got a new segment here. What do we got? We got Joss's like jank combos here. Or,
Yes.
what do you got for us today?
All right. There's this new card called Blossoming Tortoise that has come out in this new set. He's a 2 and 2 green, so 4 mana, 3/3 turtle. But when he enters the battlefield or attacks, mill 3 cards, then return a land card from your graveyard to the battlefield tap. That doesn't matter. Land creatures you control get +1/+1. That doesn't matter. Everything about this card. Activated abilities of lands you control cost 1 less to activate. So as a quick combo, you can run the man land Lava Claw Reaches, black red one. It has an X ability where the land will get +1 attack, and you can just pay 1, but the turtle will make it cost 1 less. So you get it infinitely pumped up this land to attack for infinite damage. Now that's that.
What is the wording on it?
Lava Claw Reaches,
Yeah, what's
and
the wording on the spell?
let's look up Lava Claw Reaches. It's a man land.
Yeah, so what does it cost to animate it?
Uh, to animate it, it costs 1 black red, so 3
Okay.
mana, and
And
then
then
it has the ability X. This creature gets +X+O until end of turn. So you could make it 1, but then the turtle will make it cost 0, so it gets +1.
you can
Just
infinitely pay one
keep
into
doing over and over, and then swing in for infinite damage.
it.
Now that one's just a funny one. Now we're going to win in a crazy jank way. All right, everybody know Helix Pinnacle. It's
Yeah.
1 mana green enchantment where it also has that X. Put an X tower counters onto the Helix Pinnacle. On the beginning of upkeep, if you have 100 or more tower counters, you win the game, right? Kind of looks like Lava Claw Reaches, but we got to make this into a land. But the way we're doing that is Opalescence. It's 2 and 2 white. Other enchantments you control are now creatures. Then we play Ashaya, Soul of the Wild, and makes all of our creatures into forest lands. So
Got it.
now we have our Helix Pinnacle as a creature, but now it's a forest land creature, and it looks kind of like Lava Claw Reaches. We play the tortoise, we pay 1, we get a tower counter, but the turtle makes it 0, and just keep doing that over and over, and we can have up to 100 tower counters on
So
Helix
that's
Pinnacle.
a 4 card win the game
Four
combo.
card win the game. Pretty jank, but pretty amazing.
That's pretty cool, man. It's pretty jank, but it's fun. I mean, some people will play that in Commander.
I want to see you guys build that deck.
If you do build it, make sure to link us in the comments or join our Discord and let us know. But yeah, that's Josh's Jank Combos. Hopefully you liked it. And that's our podcast for today. Um, Thanks for listening. Don't forget to hit subscribe on YouTube if you're not. Check out all those videos we got coming out. And, obviously help share our podcast. If you like the episode, just be like, hey, go check out MTG Place's podcast on Spotify, wherever you listen to podcasts, or, YouTube if you like gameplay videos as well. Uh, have a good day.
See ya.